Good morning, friends, and welcome to New Garden Friends Meeting's digital worship. Today is May 10th, and I am Margaret Webb, the pastor here at New Garden Friends Meeting. For those of you who are celebrating today, Happy Mother's Day. Friends, it is our tradition at New Garden Friends Meeting to take time at the beginning of our worship to fully welcome everyone who is at worship that morning. And I would like to extend that warm welcome to all of you. You are welcome here in this space. You are welcome. The love of New Garden Friends Meeting surrounds and uplifts you. Friends, I would invite you to take a few moments as I move into announcements this morning to reach out and say hello and welcome to other new gardeners, whether it's here in the comments section of this video or whether it is by Facebook Messenger or text message, email, or by phone. Take a few moments, say hello, check in, welcome one another warmly. I do have several announcements to make this morning. My first announcement is that you have until tomorrow to contribute to New Garden Friends Meeting's digital food drive. So New Garden Friends Meeting regularly holds food drives to benefit urban ministries here in Greensboro. And this year, because we were not able to collect food in person, we are collecting money that we will send to urban ministries. And I understand that a lot of money has already come in for the food drive, which is so wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone who has contributed. But there's still time to get in a contribution if you would like to. You can get it in before tomorrow. So you can mail a check to New Garden Friends Meeting, and you can make the check out to New Garden Friends Meeting. But make sure you put in the memo line of the check that is for Greensboro Urban Ministries Food Pantry. Or you can contribute through the New Garden Friends Meeting website. You can hit the donate button and you can contribute through there, but make sure that you mark it for Greensboro Urban Ministry Food Pantry. My second announcement is just a word about worship today. We will have wonderful music from Mark Alley, our music director here at New Garden Friends Meeting. He has prepared music for us this morning. What I will do is once I have finished the live feed this morning, I will post the music into the comments section of this video so you all can find it and enjoy it as part of your worship experience today. I like to listen to Mark before I settle into silence. So what I often do is I often end the live feed and then I listen to the music that Mark has prepared, and then I settle into silence with the queries for the morning. So you may want to do it that way, or you may want to settle into silence first for a time and then listen to the music after the silence. You may want to come back and listen to the music later today, whatever works well for you. But there will be music from Mark Alley, our music director, in the comments of this video. I have two readings to share with all of you this morning. The first reading is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verses 13 through 16. Many people were bringing their children to Jesus in order that he might bless them, and the disciples spoke sternly to the parents. But when Jesus saw this, he became frustrated and said to the disciples, "Let the little children come to me, and do not stop them. For it is to such as these that the kingdom of God belongs. Truly I tell you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." And he took the children up in his arms, and he laid his hands on them, and he blessed them, each of them. Our second reading comes from Britain Yearly Meeting, Faith and Practice. I'm reading section 2.76. Just a word about Britain Yearly Meeting, Faith and Practice. You can find it in its entirety online. So if you would ever like to go back and check and read again a reading from Britain Yearly Meeting, Faith and Practice, You can just Google Britain Yearly Meeting Faith and Practice, and it will bring up the entirety of Britain Yearly Meeting Faith and Practice online. So this is section 2.76. I recall a family weekend when the children, about 24 of them, aged 3 and upwards, had their own sessions in parallel to the adults. On the first evening, after the Getting to Know You games, as we sat down on the carpet to worship, we lit some candles in the hearth and turned off the lights and asked 2 children to be elders, and then we were all still. The meeting for worship went on for over a quarter of an hour and was very deep. Then the 2 children who were elders shook hands, but the silence then continued. After another 5 minutes, I started a conversation, but no one responded to my cheerful comments. I was the one who had lost touch. When the children did speak, it was slowly and thoughtfully, with long spaces between. And this is when I realized that children do minister. That meeting then lasted until someone entered the room and interrupted us, about 40 minutes. And that was a quote from Anne Hoskin in 1984. Friends, before I move into my prepared message for this morning, I wanted to invite you all to join me for a few moments of prayer time. In the silence, I am holding in the light those at New Garden Friends Meeting who are ill or who have experienced injury or surgery, hospitalization. This morning, I'm also particularly holding in the light our oldest members of our community, especially those who are living in retirement communities, those who cannot receive visitors right now and who may be feeling especially isolated. This morning, I'm also lifting up in the light all of the families with young children who are part of our meeting. This is a very difficult time for parents who are trying to juggle working and schooling their children, and a very difficult time for children who are feeling very alone and isolated. Those who I'm holding in the light this morning during my prayer time. You may have others who you want to lift up into the light. If there is someone who you would like to share with the community that you are holding in prayer, you can post it in the comment section. Or if you want to just share with me privately someone who I can hold in the light, you can send me an email, and I'm happy to hold that person in my prayer time each day and lift them up into the light. Friends, let us pray together. Amen. Thank you, friends. Today is one of the days when traditionally at New Garden Friends Meeting, we have child or baby dedications. A child or baby dedication, for those of you who don't know about this practice or have not seen one at New Garden Friends Meeting, they often are part of a meeting for worship, and they can be on any first day or Sunday of the year. But there are several times throughout the year when we often have child or baby dedications. One of those times is Mother's Day, and the other is Father's Day. During a baby or child dedication, we celebrate that child. We celebrate that they are part of our community. We welcome them into our community, and we commit to loving and supporting not only that child, but also the whole family as they raise the child. We also promise as a whole community that we will help that child learn about Quaker faith, Quaker values, and Quaker practice. My personal favorite part of a child or baby dedication is when I get to hold the baby, or I get to hold hands with the child, and I walk them around our worship room, and everyone greets the child, and I introduce that child to the whole meeting. There's nothing quite like a child or baby dedication. It is such a warm and loving moment for our whole community as we affirm our deep commitment to caring for one another, young and old alike. This year, we are not able to do baby or child dedications this Sunday. There isn't a good way that we have figured out to capture that experience digitally. But I do want to honor that tradition at New Garden by speaking today about children and how our youngest members and attenders can help ground and lead us as a community. One of the things that is really beautiful about New Garden Friends Meeting is that we are a community that honestly welcomes and values people of all ages. We believe that those relationships that we build across the divide of ages or across other traditional divides, that those relationships that we build help us live as a blessed community, help us live in such a way that we exemplify mercy and peace, justice and love in our world. We believe that our children learn best how to be Quaker, how to live into those values of peace and equality, simplicity, integrity, and community by participating fully in our community life, by watching the elders of our community model those Quaker values and practices. Our children learn to be faithful Quakers by watching the adults all around them practice that faith and those traditions. And likewise, we adults learn from having people of all ages as part of our community. Our world can be very divided. If you yourself do not have children in your home, whether because they have grown and have homes of their own now, or because you've never had children in your life, then you may really literally never be around children. Our community is very age divided, but that is not true for faith communities. Faith communities are one of the only places remaining in our society where people of all ages come and gather together and where relationships are built across ages. And we adults can learn from those relationships, from having those relationships with people who are younger than ourselves. As our reading from Mark suggests, children have a special capacity for spiritual practice. They have many things they can teach us adults. One of those things is that children have an incredible capacity to be in the moment. Although they have worries and fears, just like every human, they are less likely to get caught up in intense and stressful forward thinking or backward looking. We adults are so focused on our plans, or at least I know that I am, so focused on our past mistakes, so focused on our expectations, that it can be hard for us to be grounded in the moment, in what is right here, in this time and this place, and this experience. Children, however, especially young children, have the ability to be fully present in the moment. They're feeling their feelings. They are intensely engaged with life right here and right now. And we adults can learn from this intensity of engagement. This practice of being in the moment can have incredible spiritual fruits for us. We Quakers talk often about how the Spirit is present in every moment, and how it is important for us to listen for that living Spirit in the present moment. But it can be hard to listen for the living presence when we are focused on putting together our grocery list in our mind, or focused on picking up our dry cleaning, or focused on our work that we have to do the next day, or the work that we have to pick up as soon as we leave our worship space. What if instead of being so focused on our responsibilities, our worries and our anxieties, what if instead we were fully present in the moment, like a child? If we are fully present in the moment, then we can listen. We can listen for that still small voice. It is that posture of a child that can bring our attentiveness to the Spirit. Here at New Garden Friends Meeting, our children often play quietly during meeting for worship. We have a space that we call our Meeting for Wiggles space in our worship room, a soft space on the floor on a quilt that has quiet toys. And our children play in that space. Many of our younger children play in that space during meeting for worship. And it might seem like they're distracted from what is happening around them. But my experience is the opposite. As they play, they are fully present, their mind, their body, and their spirit in the moment. I have been repeatedly amazed by what my children and other children tell me about what they heard or experienced during meeting for worship. As our reading from Britain Yearly Meeting Faith and Practice says, children can be ministers. They can get meeting for worship and participate in it fully. I have 2 children, and being a parent is the greatest joy of my life. And joy is one of the other things that children can teach us. Children have a sense of fun and playfulness that is frankly very hard for us adults to attain. I think their sense of playfulness and joy comes from that same place of being centered in the moment, from that willingness to enjoy what life has to offer without too much concern for what tomorrow will bring. And of course, we adults can't really be this way. We have responsibilities and commitments. But it is a powerful reminder to me when I see my children engaged in the moment and filled with joy. It's a reminder to pause and to really enjoy that ice cream. To pause and to put my feet in the grass. To pause and to feel the sun on my face. To pause and to smell the flowers. To pause and admire the color of the sky. To pause and look at the green of the trees. To pause and to take a deep breath and to feel my feelings and to engage with that living presence that is all around us. Children teach us too about tenderness. our world is a scary place. And even for people like myself, who I'm a committed optimist, even for optimists like myself, it can be easy to harden our hearts against all of the pain and suffering of our world. But children are not like that. My daughter stops to save earthworms on the sidewalk after there's been a hard rain. It takes her a very long time to get anywhere, but she stops and she saves every one of those earthworms. My little boy was feeling concerned that the bugs out in our yard maybe did not have a hospitable environment in which to live. So he researched bug hotels, ways that we can create better spaces for bugs. And he took an old stump that's in our yard and a hammer and some nails, and he hammered the nails into the stump and then pulled them out so that there were holes all over the stump so that bugs could better live in the stump. My daughter, as a little baby, would wave and greet literally every person who she met in the park or the grocery store or the bank or the post office or anywhere else that we would take her. She was so delighted to meet other people. My son these days, when he sees that I'm grumpy or frustrated, if I'm walking around slamming doors and grumbling to myself, I try not to get frustrated often, but it happens. If he sees me walking around grumpy, he will come up to me without fail. Every time he will come up to me and he'll hug me and he'll say, "I am so sorry things are hard for you." You all can't see this here today because of the camera angle, but here in my office at New Garden Friends meeting, just to the left of me, I have a bulletin board. And on that bulletin board, I have many pictures and other things that the children of our meeting here at New Garden Friends meeting have given to me. The children of our meeting have written me beautiful thank you notes for being their pastor. They've drawn pictures of God for me. They've drawn me pictures of myself leading meeting for worship, and they've drawn pictures of our world as they see it. A beautiful place filled with color and love. I wish I was so creative. I wish my spirit was as generous as the spirit of the children of this meeting. As an adult, I think my goal should always be to have the tenderness of a 5-year-old. And isn't that what Jesus meant when he said we should be like children as we turn toward the world or as we turn toward God? I think that Jesus was himself, in some ways, childlike. He was meek and tender, humble and gentle. And perhaps above all else, he was unafraid of the great violence, hate, and fear of our world. Today, as I am thinking and talking about children in our community, I want to especially honor the fact that our children are facing an incredible challenge in this present moment as we shelter at home, as we face this pandemic. This is a hard time for our children. They're not able to be in school or be with their friends. They miss going to the park. They miss hugs and kisses from their grandparents or from their friends. They miss the Children's Museum here in Greensboro and the Science Center. I know my children, along with other children who I know, are struggling. And yet children are incredibly resilient. And although my children and perhaps other children are having more meltdowns than usual, they are still essentially the same. Their same sweet, loving, joyful selves. And it is so incredible to see. And to the children who are watching today with your parents, I want to say something just to you. You're doing a really great job. You are doing such a good job. And I know that it's hard and that you miss your friends and you miss your school and you miss the park and you miss doing things like you did things before. But you are so brave and you are so kind and you are doing so well. And to the adults who are watching today, the same is true for all of you. Well done. Well done. Keep living in this moment and keep in mind your strength and your resilience to face what is coming next. And remember those lessons of our youngest friends. Enjoy any treat that you get with enthusiasm. Take naps. Naps are important. Take some naps. Be as playful as you can be whenever possible. Listen for that spirit that is all around you in every moment. Take time to feel your feelings and to acknowledge them fully and honor them. Say sorry whenever you make a mistake. Share your toys. And above all else, stay hopeful. Friends, we are getting ready to enter into our time of silent waiting worship this morning. I would invite you to hold with me these queries or questions. After I enter into the silence and I cut the live feed this morning, I will post the music from Mark Alley, our music director, into the comments. Friends, let's hold together these queries this morning. How are you following the example of children and staying grounded in this present moment? What practices help you stay centered in today? Do you have children in your life who have taught you something? What have you learned from them? How will you take a childlike attitude this week? An attitude of wonder, an attitude of imagination and creativity. As you approach your spiritual practices this week, how will you take that childlike attitude of wonder into those practices? Friends, I am so glad that we worship together this morning.